I remember the first time I heard about the Heavens Scroll, not as a dusty old manuscript, but as a promise written in golden ink across the sky of my soul. Maybe you felt it too, that quiet nudge in your spirit when the world around you seems to hold its breath, just waiting for you to take one step closer to what was meant to be yours. I was sitting on the porch, sipping coffee from my favorite mug, when I realized that the stories we tell ourselves about money and blessings are often too small. We think of a paycheck, a loan, or a winning lottery ticket. But what if I told you that true financial favor doesn't always come with a dollar sign? What if it's written into your very being, waiting to be discovered, nurtured, and lived out loud, but in your own quiet way? This video isn't just another sermon or a pep talk. It's a conversation between the part of you that remembers what's been promised and the part of you that's ready to receive it. You see, the Heavens Scroll isn't a fairy tale. It's a spiritual truth that weaves through the fabric of your life, often in ways you don't expect. Today, we're going to open that scroll together. We're going to talk about the prophetic release of financial favor, not as something out of reach, but as a birthright that's been whispering your name all along. We'll explore the signs that heaven is moving on your behalf, the stories of people just like you who've seen the impossible become possible, and the small, steady steps you can take to walk in alignment with what's already been written for you. So, if you're ready, find a quiet place in your heart, take a deep breath, and let's begin this journey together. Because the world may have overlooked your name, but heaven never did. Have you ever noticed how certain things seem to show up again and again, almost as if they're trying to catch your attention? Repeating numbers on a clock, a melody that tugs at your memory, a sudden breeze that carries a whisper of something more. These are what I call the signs from above, little winks from the universe. Or if you prefer, gentle nudges from a loving God who knows you by name. Let me share a story. My neighbor Ellen is a retired school teacher who never considered herself particularly spiritual. But one morning she woke up to find the numbers 333 on her digital clock. That same day, she found 3 pennies in her coat pocket and saw 3 hawks circling overhead. At first, she brushed it off as coincidence, but later, when she got a call about a job tutoring kids, something she dreamed of returning to, she told me, she finally understood. The signs were reminders that her time wasn't done yet. She laughed and said, "I guess heaven does text messages after all." The lesson is simple: these signs aren't meant to scare or confuse you. They're meant to comfort you, to say, you're on the right path, even if you can't see where it leads. So if you're seeing repeated numbers or hearing the same song over and over, pause for a moment. Don't dismiss it. Ask yourself, what is this trying to show me? Because often, those small signals are the threads that pull us back into alignment with what's already been written for us. And in the quiet moments when we choose to listen, we can feel that bigger story unfolding, piece by piece. So now, let's take those gentle hints and weave them into the bigger picture. How can we hold on to that sense of divine timing? And why is it so important to stay silent and watchful as heaven's plan unfolds? Let's explore that together. Silence. In a world that never seems to stop talking, it feels almost like a lost art. But there's a reason why Archangel Michael urges us to be quiet when the miracle is about to unfold. You see, silence isn't just about closing your lips. It's about opening your heart to the whispers that only come when the noise dies down. I remember a time when my cousin Mark was in the middle of a storm in his life. Financial troubles, family stress, and everything in between. He told me how he used to fill every moment with talking, trying to explain himself, trying to prove he was still worthy. But one night, he decided to just sit on his porch in the dark. No phone, no TV, no music, just the quiet. That's when he said he heard the answer he'd been begging for. Stop trying to fix it all. Just be still. Silence became his strength. And sure enough, within weeks, the very thing he'd been chasing seemed to come find him. A friend offered him a chance to partner on a project that would change his financial picture completely. Mark said, "I learned that sometimes the doors open when you stop banging on them. So here's the lesson the world might tell you: to shout your dreams from the rooftops, to hustle harder, to make your voice heard. But there are moments, like now, when silence is the strongest thing you can offer. Because in the quiet, you're telling heaven that you trust it to do what you cannot." And that brings us to the heart of this journey. Understanding that silence is not weakness, but a shield. It's how we hold the miracle close until it's ready to bloom. And as we move forward, let's keep this gentle truth close. The quiet moments are often where the biggest shifts begin. Next, let's look at how that quiet strength can protect us during the unseen battles, when forces beyond what we can see are at work, shaping our financial future in ways we might never expect. Sometimes, the battles we're fighting aren't visible to anyone else. They don't show up in the form of arguments or dramatic moments. They live quietly in the back of our minds and in the weight we carry around our hearts. And that's especially true when it comes to our finances. It's what I call spiritual warfare. Not the kind with swords and shields, but the kind that whispers doubts in your ear and makes you question whether you'll ever have enough. I've seen it happen to so many people I love. My friend Diane, for example, spent years working hard to support her family. She was always the first to give, the last to ask for help. But behind closed doors, she felt like she was in a constant tug of war, like the blessings she was praying for were just out of reach, and someone else was always a step ahead. It wasn't until she started to see her financial journey as more than just dollars and cents that things began to change. She told me, "I realized that some of those roadblocks weren't about money at all. They were about my fear that I didn't deserve to be blessed." And when she let go of that fear, she said, "I felt like a weight had lifted. Suddenly, new opportunities started to show up." The lesson here is powerful. Financial favor isn't just about numbers. It's about breaking through the stories we've been telling ourselves. Stories that say you're too late, you missed your chance, you'll always be stuck. But those are lies designed to keep you small. So here's what I want you to remember. There's a spiritual dimension to your financial journey. And if you've been feeling stuck, it's not because you're lazy or unworthy. It's because there's a bigger battle happening around you, and you're stronger than you think. And that brings us to the next part of our story: how to recognize the people in your life who might be adding to that weight without even realizing it. Let's talk about how to navigate those relationships and why their jealousy doesn't have to stop you from stepping into your own blessing. Sometimes the hardest part of walking into your blessing isn't what's happening around you. It's what's happening in the people closest to you. Because when the heavens begin to open, not everyone will be ready to celebrate your rise. I remember my friend Linda telling me about a cousin who always seemed supportive, until the day Linda's small business finally took off. That cousin started making snide remarks, saying things like, "Don't get too big for your britches," or "money changes people." Linda said it stung more than she expected because it wasn't from a stranger. It was from someone she'd trusted. Jealousy is sneaky that way. It doesn't always look like anger. It can hide behind fake smiles and polite words. And for those of us who've spent a lifetime taking care of others, it can feel like a betrayal when people you love can't stand to see you shine. Here's what Linda learned, and what I want you to remember too. Their jealousy isn't really about you. It's about the light you carry, the doors you're opening. It's about the fact that your story challenges the smallness they've settled for in their own lives. So, what do? You hold your head high and keep walking. You let them have their opinions, but you don't let their opinions change your path. And most importantly, you remember that your blessing doesn't come at the expense of anyone else. It comes because it's your time. And as we move forward, I want to invite you to take a closer look at the things you thought you'd lost. Because sometimes the people who are jealous of you are the very ones who tried to take what was yours in the first place. But here's the good news. What was meant for you has a way of circling back, stronger and more certain than ever. Let's talk next about those lost opportunities and how they have a habit of finding their way home just when you need them most. There's something almost magical about the way lost things find their way back to us. You know what I mean? Those moments when something you thought was gone forever suddenly reappears, often in a form that's even better than before. Take my friend Henry, for instance. A few years back, he invested in a business venture that went sideways. It wasn't just money he lost, it was his confidence, his sense of security. He spent years thinking he'd never recover, but then, out of the blue, an old partner reached out with a new opportunity, one that would help Henry rebuild everything he thought was lost. It felt like the universe remembered me. He told me, That's what restoration looks like. It's not just about getting back what you lost. It's about receiving it in a way that's more aligned, more fulfilling, and more real. Because here's the thing, heaven's timing doesn't always line up with ours. We might be ready to give up, but the divine has a habit of saying, "Not yet. Watch what I can do." The lesson: don't count yourself out just because something fell through. Lost wealth, whether it's money, a job, or even a relationship, has a funny way of circling back. And often, it brings something extra along with it, a sense of peace that says, you didn't lose it forever. You were just being prepared to receive it better. So, as we keep walking this journey together, I want you to start looking at those old dreams and opportunities with fresh eyes. Instead of thinking, it's too late, ask yourself, what if it's finally time? Because the truth is, when something is meant for you, it doesn't disappear, it waits until you're ready to hold it. Now, let's explore how the very record of your name, your spiritual and financial worth, has been kept safe all along, even if you've forgotten it yourself. Have you ever felt like your name was lost in the shuffle, like the world had forgotten you, or that your worth was only measured in numbers on a paycheck? I think we all feel that way at some point, but I want to remind you today, your name is written somewhere no ledger can erase. I was talking with a friend named Carol the other day. She's always been someone who worked hard and cared for others, but never felt truly seen. When she retired, she worried that she'd fade into the background, no longer needed or remembered. But then she started volunteering at a community center, teaching kids how to read. One day, a little girl said to her, "You're the reason I like books now." In that moment, Carol realized her name had always been written, just not in the places she'd expected. That's the beauty of what some call the heavenly ledger. It's the record of your kindness, your courage, your willingness to keep going even when no one else sees it. And in the realm of financial favor, it's the promise that what was meant for you will find you. Because heaven doesn't keep sloppy records. It knows your name and it knows your worth. So here's a small lesson. When you start to feel overlooked, remember that your real value was never about the things you could hold in your hands. It's about the legacy you're building with your life, how you show up, how you love, how you keep your heart open even when the world tries to close it. As we move into the next part of this journey, I want you to hold on to that truth, that what's been written in your name can't be taken by anyone else. And that's why, when the signs come, no matter how small, they're worth paying attention to. Let's talk next about what you can do, practically and spiritually, to step into those signs and let them guide you toward what's waiting. It's easy to feel like we're meant to just sit and wait for a miracle to show up at our doorstep. But if there's one thing I've learned and seen in so many people I admire, it's that miracles like to meet us halfway. The prophetic release of financial favor isn't just a gift. It's an invitation to step into action. I think about my friend Gary, a retired engineer who always dreamed of starting a small woodworking business. For years, he kept saying, maybe next year, when things are easier. But one day, after a small nudge in his spirit, he decided to finally open his garage workshop and offer handmade furniture to his neighbors. The orders didn't flood in all at once, but little by little, word spread, and Gary's hobby became a blessing, both financially and emotionally. He told me, I realized that heaven had already said yes. I just needed to say it too. So what does it mean for you? It means that when the signs show up, when you get that call, or that opportunity, or that feeling that says, try again, don't brush it aside. Write it down, pray on it. Do one small thing today that brings it closer. Here's a simple way to start. Listen for the nudges. 2, write them down. Don't rely on memory alone. 3, take one small action that says, I believe this is for me. Because when you do, you're telling heaven that you're ready. You're not just waiting to receive, you're willing to participate in your own breakthrough. And as we move forward, remember that action doesn't have to be loud or dramatic. It can be as simple as picking up the phone, signing up for a class, or reaching out to someone who inspires you. Let's talk next about what to do when doubt tries to sneak in, because that's when your faith is most needed. No matter how much faith you have, doubt can sneak in like an uninvited guest. It's that little voice that says, this is too good to be true. Or people like you don't get this kind of favor. And if we're not careful, doubt can build walls around blessings that were already on their way. I remember talking with my old neighbor, Jean. She'd always been the first to encourage others, but when it came to her own life, she was her biggest skeptic. When she was offered a chance to invest in a small property she'd long admired, she almost turned it down. I didn't think it could be real, she told me. But with a little nudge from her son, she decided to move forward. And that investment turned out to be the cornerstone of her retirement. I almost let doubt steal my blessing, she said with a quiet smile. Here's the lesson. Doubt doesn't mean you're weak. It just means you're human. But you don't have to let it have the final say. When those questions creep in, answer them with gentle faith. This might be new for me, but it's not too big for the one who's guiding me. Because often, the biggest breakthroughs come right after the biggest waves of uncertainty. So if you find yourself second, guessing the signs, take a breath. Remember the times before when you stepped out in faith and were met with unexpected goodness. Let those memories be your anchor, reminding you that what's meant for you doesn't need to be forced. It just needs your trust. And as we keep going, let's turn our focus outward for a moment. Because while your financial favor is deeply personal, it's also part of a bigger story, one that can reach further than you ever imagined. Let's talk next about why your blessing matters, not just for you, but for those around you. It's easy to think of financial blessings as something that begins and ends with us. But the truth is, every gift you receive carries a ripple effect. When the heavens release favor into your life, it's not just to make you comfortable. It's to make you a blessing to others. I've seen this play out in the life of my friend Sam. After years of living paycheck to paycheck, he finally paid off his mortgage thanks to a small inheritance he never saw coming. At first, he was tempted to keep it quiet, to let it be a private miracle. But Sam told me something shifted in his heart. I realized that the real miracle wasn't just paying off the house, he said. It was having the freedom to be more generous, to help my grandkids, to support my local food bank, to share what I'd been given. That's what I call legacy-level favor. It doesn't end at your doorstep. It reaches into your family, your community, even strangers who may never know your name. It's why financial favor matters so much for those of us who've spent decades working hard and giving quietly. Because when your cup overflows, it doesn't just bless you, it blesses everyone around you. The lesson here is simple: your breakthrough isn't just yours. It's part of a bigger plan, a bigger purpose that extends beyond what you can see. When you recognize that, you begin to carry your blessing differently, not as something to hide or hoard, but as something to share and celebrate. So as we move into this final part of our journey, I want to invite you to think about how your own story of favor might be a lifeline to someone else, and to remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do with your blessing is to simply live it out loud, quietly, humbly, but with an open heart. Let's bring it all together now. Let's talk about how to walk forward in this quiet miracle, one step at a time. As we come to the end of this journey, I hope you're feeling something gentle but sure, like the soft pull of a current that's been guiding you all along. Because the quiet miracle of financial favor isn't just about a single breakthrough. It's about learning how to walk forward in faith, even when the world around you doesn't yet see the change. I think of my old friend, Bill. After he retired, he used to sit on his porch every morning, coffee in hand, just watching the sun rise. One day, I asked him what he thought about during those quiet hours. He said, "I think about how everything has a season, and how even if you don't see it yet, the seeds you planted years ago are already growing somewhere." That's what it means to walk in a quiet miracle. It's not loud. It doesn't need a spotlight. It just grows, like the sunrise Bill watched each morning. It grows through your trust, through your faith, and through every small step you take to live in alignment with what's been written for you. The lesson is this: you don't have to chase what's already yours. You don't have to shout it from the rooftops or prove it to anyone else. All you have to do is keep showing up, keep listening, keep your heart open to the signs and the whispers that tell you your name has already been spoken in places you haven't even stepped into yet. As you move forward from here, take this blessing with you, that your story is still unfolding, and the best chapters might just be the ones that come quietly, like a soft sunrise on a quiet porch, or the gentle unfolding of heaven's scroll with your name written in gold. Thank you for spending this time with me today. May you walk forward in faith, in peace, and in the quiet power of knowing that what was meant for you can never be stolen or lost. It's already been signed in the heavens.